repeal speech in which he said we will defund the Obama agenda. Joining us now, we have Simon Rosenberg, founder and executive director of the New Democratic Network, and also with us syndicated columnist Tony Blankley, who served as press secretary for Newt Gingrich years past. Tony, let me begin with you. The speech that we heard from Newt Gingrich yesterday, first of all, what will he repeal? Why would he want to repeal health care when its fundamental premises came from Mitt Romney and Senator McCain? Why would you do that?
Well, of course, neither Mitt Romney nor Senator McCain represent where the conservative Republican Party has been or is. The bill itself is vastly unpopular with the whole country, not only with Republicans, and I'm pretty sure that that will be a consensus position for Republicans over the next 7 months of the campaign.
Tony, not to interrupt, but isn't it the case that Mitt Romney's health care bill in Massachusetts had as a fundamental premise everybody has to participate, and Senator McCain talked about the Cadillac tax? So McCain and Romney have as much to do with this as anybody else.
Absolutely, which is a problem for Romney and McCain, but it's not a problem for conservative Republicans.
Simon, let me turn to you. Newt Gingrich, before he spoke yesterday, said we can't be the party of no. Is Newt Gingrich becoming just the party of no once again? And is there an affirmative agenda for the Republican Party right now?
I think that's the greatest challenge for the Republican Party right now, is to convince the American people that they're more than angry, that they've actually got an argument, that they're not nostalgic for an old time and an old religion, but sort of have a new approach to the challenges that we're facing in the 21st century in America. The Republican Party was a very successful party in the late 20th century. They have been an utter failure as a political party in the 21st, and I think it's amazing to me that they're looking forward by going back to Newt Gingrich.
And Simon, let me follow up on that and ask this question. I hope to have time for Tony as well. He talked about defunding the Obama agenda. Where is Newt Gingrich going to defund? Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, defense? Where do they plan to make these cuts? Has he given us any indication of that?
Well, I don't think they're going to win the House and the Senate in the fall, so I don't think they're really going to have the opportunity to enact an agenda that is going to be deeply unpopular with the American people. Look, the Republicans are more out of sync and more out of touch with mainstream America than they've been in over 40 years. They've got a long road back to getting into power, and I don't think we're going to see this happen in January next year.
I agree with you, but hold on. Let's give Tony a chance here to give a rebuttal. Otherwise, we're not being fair to him.
Yeah, let me say I'm only nostalgic for about 3 weeks ago before the health bill passed. So I think, I'm not looking back to the 19th century. I'm looking back to 2010. So, look, I think there's no doubt.
Tony, let me interrupt. Let me ask you the pointed question. Your former boss, Newt Gingrich, said we're going to defund this agenda. Where specifically do you plan to cut? Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, Department of Defense. Where is it? Infrastructure investments. Where are the cuts coming from?
Oh, I would assume that they're going to try to, pending being able to repeal health care bill, they're going to look for opportunities to cut appropriations that would make the program inert. That's often the way Congress does when they don't like a program. They try to find it. But more fundamentally, the Republicans and the conservatives have a huge agenda, and it's a one-word agenda. It's rollback. That's why the Democratic Party is at the lowest level of Gallup poll approval in 18 years because of the agenda.
We'll continue this. I just want to pivot to another issue. We'll continue. I'm not cutting you off without a reason here. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has canceled his trip to the Washington nuclear summit, fearing Israel would be criticized for its nuclear program. First of all, Simon, let me ask you, was this the right decision for the Israeli Prime Minister? Was there any upside to his coming to Washington?
Look, I think the most important part, Eliot, of what's happening now is that the President of the United States is making nuclear proliferation and the ability to deny nuclear weapons to rogue states and rogue actors a major part of the global conversation. What we're going to see here in Washington next week is an unprecedented meeting of world leaders to come together to tackle this vexing, global problem. I'm proud of the President. And I think on the question of Benjamin Netanyahu, I'm going to turn it back to the Israelis for them to decide whether or not this was the right decision.
Fair enough, but if you were in their shoes, would you come to Washington so you could become the focal point of this conversation rather than saying there's this country out there called Iran just announcing faster centrifuges? Tony, hop in on this one. Do you think the Prime Minister should come, and why not make Iran the center of this conversation, not Israel?
Yeah, I think Netanyahu made the right decision. Israel's had two friends, Turkey and the United States. Now, since Turkey has been going Islamist, they've now turned on Israel, and this current government in Washington is obviously also not empathetic to Israel, and they didn't want to come here. This is supposed to be on terrorists getting nuclear weapons, and it was obviously going to be turned into trying to force Israel to disarm, and they're not going to.
Again, not to cut you off, but to pivot to another issue, but I want to remind everybody back in '81 when, of course, Israel did bomb and take out another other possible reactor. People criticized it.
Yep.
Now I think people's view is somewhat different. Again, Karzai, friend or foe? Tony, let me ask you a question. We're in Afghanistan. Karzai made a speech last week basically saying, be careful, I may join the Taliban. We have 100,000 troops there. Which one is he? Is he a friend? He is an enemy? One former diplomat said he was consuming their opium product. Hard to make head or tail out of this. What do we make of this guy?
Well, yeah, let me just say that last fall I came out against our continued operation in Afghanistan because I don't think our government has a plan for victory. But I think that Karzai has been the butt of the administration's public diplomacy regarding his corruption and incompetence, and he's now turned back on us. But he's either the ally we have.
Get the last word on this.
This is a tough situation. Afghanistan, after a very successful early few years in Afghanistan, the Bush administration took their eye off the ball. They've left a very big mess there. Obama's trying to do the best he can to clean it up, but we're going to have some tough days ahead, I think.
But there is a sense out there that somehow we are losing a negotiation with Karzai in the sense that he goes off, he plays footsie with the Taliban, undercuts any form of democratic election. We have 100,000 troops, and what are we getting back from this so-called partnership right now?
I think this is going to be a hard road to hoe, and I think we're going to learn a lot more about this relationship when Karzai comes to Washington in May, and there's going to be some hard conversations between now and then. Certainly, America's investing an awful lot of money and our troops and our lives in Afghanistan, and we need a better partner in this fight if we're going to succeed in the mission ahead.
And I think the critical question is, can we actually turn him into that better partner? Do we have the leverage? Do we have the capacity? And in fact, are we chasing a mirage? Because Al-Qaeda moves from region to region, country to country, and meanwhile we have 100,000 troops in Afghanistan. I think that is the question that still remains to be answered. All right, Simon, Tony, thank you so much for joining us. Coming up, we have Senator Bernie Sanders from Vermont, a progressive Democrat. He'll talk to us about not only Justice Stevens, but also that critical issue of financial regulation. We'll be right back.